Hey guys, welcome to my Samoan language instruction. Today we're just going to be working on numbers. If you can memorize 1 through 10 here on the left side of the page, then you've done about 90% of the work. And let's just get started. I'm going to work on this first one. 1 is Tasi, 1 is Tasi. 2 is Lua, 2 is Lua. 3 is Tolu, 3 is Tolu. 4 is Fa, 4 is Fa. 5 is Lima, 5 is Lima. 6 is Ono, 6 is Ono. 7 is Fitu, 7 is Fitu. 8 is Valu, 8 is Valu. 9 is Eva, 9 is Eva. 10 is Sefulu, 10 is Sefulu. Okay? So, if you can memorize those, you've done most of the work. So, I encourage you to pause the video at this point and go back and memorize these first 10 and get the pronunciation down for them as well. I went pretty fast, and the video will help you get those pronunciation as you go back. All right, so moving on, if we go from 11 to 19, we kind of use basic math here. So in my math, I have these number values, or places, if you will. So I have 2 lines here. These lines represent numbers, okay? I'll put numbers above those lines. This line to the left is the tens place. I call this my tens place, if you remember in your math. And then the second place, I'm going to write it a little bit lower. This is the singles unit or value, okay? So, basically you use this same principle in counting or whatever you want in numbers in Samoan. Okay, so in my tens place right here, I just put the number Sefulu, okay? Notice here in 11, I have the number Sefulu. That number right there is just Sefulu. And so in the tens place, I just put the number 10. And then the next thing, I'll have this unit right here. This is my single unit that I've shown you. And in that single unit, you just add the number that goes after the 10, okay? So in that place, I have a 1. Can you see I have, so that first part I had a 10 in the tens place, or a 1 in the tens place, but that 1 equals a 10, so I add Sefulu. And then the next number is in the singles value or digit, and that number is a 1 also, so I just replace that number here, I replace that number with the 1, the equivalent 1 in Samoan, which is Tasi. Okay, if that is a little bit over your head, I'm a math guy. I kind of like looking at it that way. If that's over your head, just remember that 11 through 19 here, you have a Sefulu that goes first, and then whichever number next. Okay, so I gave you the one for 11 here, that's Sefulu Tasi, and according to this little diagram, or whatever you want to call it, Sefulu plus the number. So let's say I want to write 12 down. What would I write? I would write a Sefulu goes first, because my little diagram says, or if you want to think about the tens place, whichever works best for you. And then my next number right here is a 2. That is a 2, so I want to add the number 2 in Samoan, and that is Lua. So I just have Sefulu Lua. Awesome. I'm going to do one more with you, and then I'm going to ask you to do the next ones on your own, and hopefully this is quite intuitive for you. So we'll do 13, okay? So the first number I add is in the tens place, right? Sefulu, this right here is in the tens place. Or if you just want to remember 11 through 19, you start with Sefulu, whichever. And then I add the number here. This number right here is 3. And the number for that in Samoan is Tolu. So Sefulu Tolu is 13. Okay? Awesome. So I'm going to ask you to do 14 through 19 on your own, and I encourage you to try that now. Okay, hopefully you actually paused the video and tried it on your own. And let's just kind of go through this together. Sefulu Fa would be what you go. So this 14 is the Sefulu, and then I add a Fa to that. So it's Sefulu Fa. Okay, what if I had 15? Well, 15 has the Sefulu, and then it has what? It has the lima. So, whoops. So you say sefulu, and then you would say lima. Okay? I'm not going to write out the next numbers, but 16 would be the sefulu and then the ono. 17 would be sefulu and the fitu. And 18 would be sefulu valu. And finally, sefulu iva is 19. Okay? So I hope this, up to this point, hasn't been too difficult for you. And if anything has been a little bit difficult, don't worry, go back, rewatch the video. That's the awesome thing about videos, is you can get lots of repetition in, and it's at your own pace. So take advantage of the video if you need to. So we're going to work on 20 through 90 here. I just want you to worry about these two rows. And so basically 20 through 90, I want you to remember this little formula. It's kind of the opposite of 11 through 19. Before I had sefulu and then a number. Well, 20 through 90, I had the number and then sefulu. Okay? So if that makes sense to you, hopefully this example right here will kind of illustrate what this example is really saying. So 20, my first number, it's in the tens place, okay? And in my tens place, it's not just a single unit anymore, so I don't just have a sefulu there anymore. I have two tens, and that is basically what this circle part is saying. I have two tens, or 20, okay? So lua sefulu. And let's say if I have three tens. If I have three tens, I just use the same diagram or example. And what's the number for 3? Well, let's write 30 out. If I follow the highlighted part, my first number right here is a 3, so I have a tolu, okay, my tolu. And then what goes next is my sefulu, because I am in the tens place, or I have 3 tens, if that makes more sense to you, okay? I want you to pause the video at this point and try to do 40 through 90 on your own, okay? Awesome, so let's work on 40 through 90. 40 through 90. So 40 here, what's basically my number for 4? Well, if you remember and memorize the 1 through 10, you remember that the number for 4 is fa, so fa here, and then I just add a sefulu again, okay? So my sefulu, I'm just going to write a SEF right there. Hopefully you remember that means sefulu. Awesome. Okay, so let's work on 50. I'm not going to write out these numbers anymore, but I'll just write a sefulu right down here, just so it makes sense. So 50 right here would be lima sefulu, because the 5 place is in the 10 unit, or the tens value, okay? And I have 5 tens, so this is lima sefulu. Okay, moving on, I have, let's do 60. 60 is ono sefulu. The reason why that is because in the tens place I have a 6, and then I have nothing in the singles unit. That's a 0, so I don't have to worry about that. We'll get to that in a little bit. Awesome, I'm going to leave that there. Let's do 70. 70 is fitu, if you remember. The number for 7 is fitu, and that is in the tens place, so I have to add a sefulu to it. Just remember the highlighted portion. Okay, 80 would be, what do you think? Well, hopefully you did it by now, but just so you know the answer, just in case. 80 is valu sefulu. That's because the 8, the value in the tens place is an 8, and so you have 8 tens, and that is 80 in English, and it's valu sefulu in Samoan. Okay, our last one for the tens plate, or the tens, is 90. Okay, so 90, if you remember that the number for 9 is Eva, and it's in the tens place, and so I would have 9 tens, or Eva sefulu in Samoan. All right, well, let's move on. Let's work on numbers that have both things that are before sefulu and after. In our first page, we worked on 1 through 10, and then we worked through 11 through 19. And 11 through 19, you had the sefulu and then a number. And then the 20 through 90, you had a number and then sefulu. Well, let's work on these kind of numbers that have both a number before sefulu, so lua here, and a number after sefulu, so tasi, okay? So basically, the example here, 21, follows this rule. There's a number that goes before sefulu, and there's a number that goes after sefulu, okay? And the reason why that is because I have numbers in my tens place, okay? My tens place, which is right here. I'm just going to write a 10. And I have numbers in my singles place that are different than 0 or 1, okay? So in my tens place, let's say I have a 4 here. Well, I would have a fa sefulu. Whoops, I'm going to have to write that in Samoan. I have a fa sefulu, but let's say I have a 2 right here in the singles unit. Well, this is no longer a 0, so I can't just leave it at fa sefulu like I did in this example. I have a 2 in the singles place, so I just add a 2 right there, and that ends it off with fa sefulu lua. Okay, so hopefully this is starting to make sense to you. The numbers usually don't give people too much of a hassle. If it's giving you a little bit of a hassle, I promise if you go back and rewatch some of this video that it'll start to make more sense to you. And I think a few more examples might help too. So I gave you this example. So 21, well, let's just kind of go over this together. So this 20, this 2 right here is in the tens place, and so that's why I have a lua sefulu, because I have two tens, okay? I have 2 10s or 20, and then in my singles place, I have 1. It's not a 0, so I have to add a tasi on the end, okay? Well, let's work on some other numbers. Let's do 45, and then maybe I'll give you some numbers to work on your own, okay? So the first thing we ask ourselves, okay, I have a 4 right here in the tens place, so that means I have 4 10s, or this will be fa sefulu, okay, fa sefulu. And I can't just end it off there because in my singles place I have a 5, okay? If that was a 0 in that 5's place, then I could just end it off right here. But no, I have a 5 right there, and if you remember the Samoan number for 5, that is lima. So 45 is fa sefulu lima. Alright, so I'm going to give you some numbers, just random numbers that I'm thinking of, and I want you to pause the video and try to come up with these numbers on your own. So pause the video. Okay, if you pause the video, I hope you did, you'll note that this right here is a 6, and that is in the tens place. So that is a ono, okay, that's 6. But I have 6 10s, okay, because this is in the tens place. So this is ono sefulu. And then I also have a 7 in the singles unit, so I add a 7 to that. And just to be clear, you don't need to add a 7 with this little plus sign right here. I'm just doing that to show that you add another number. And so this is, and I guess you could add it right here if you're kind of sticking to this formula that I've given you. Ono sefulu, and then in my singles place I have a fitu. Okay? Awesome. So let me just do 2 new numbers. I won't walk through them quite as slow, but I'll just give you the answers, and hopefully you get the same. So let's do 95. Hopefully you got, I want you to pause the video at this point. So hopefully you were able to obtain Eva sefulu lima. Okay? Awesome. So if you got that, then you're starting to get the hang of this. If not, go back and rewatch some things. Let's do 72, okay? Pause the video. So at this point, I hope you were able to get fitu, okay, fitu, and then I add a sefulu because I am using the formula that is right here. And then the next number I have is a 2 in the singles place, and that is a lua. Fitu sefulu lua. Awesome. So I hope this little exercise kind of helped. We're going to work on the last page here. And these numbers work the exact same way as if you were using the teens and the tens places, okay? So the only thing is you have more units. So if I have 100, if I have the 100 unit, I have a 100 unit right here. I have a tens place, and I have a singles place, okay? I have 3 numbers here. So let's say I have 100, okay? In my hundreds place, I have a 1. So all I need to do is write down selau for that. And I have no other values other than 0 that are here. And so I can just leave this as selau, okay? Well, let's say if I have two hundreds, let's say I have two hundreds, I have a 2 right here, and I have 0 and a 0. Well, I would do the same thing. I would say lua, because my 2 right here is in my hundreds place, and I add on a silau right there, okay? I add on a silau right there. Awesome, so if you were to do the same thing with 300 and 400, let's just do a random one, 600. And my hundreds place, I have a 6, and so that is a ono. And then I just do kind of the same thing I did with the tens, but this time it's with hundreds. I have 600s or 600. So this is ono silau, okay? Let's give us a little bit more of a tricky one. I'm not going to have these out here. Let's say I had 722, okay? This one's a little bit more tricky than the examples that I've given you before. I'm going to walk through this one with you, and then I'm going to give you some numbers, and hopefully you can get the same answer that I do. So I have right here a 7, and that 7 is in my hundreds place. So I have a fitu, because that's the number that's in the hundreds place, and then I have to attach 100 to that, which is fitu silau. We do the same thing. It's in English. So if I was to write this number down in English, 700, I have 7 hundreds. Okay, you do the same thing in Samoan, fitu silau. And then what I need to ask myself is, okay, this is in my tens place. That is a 2. So I have a 2. That's the number that's in the tens place. And I need to attach a sefulu to that, because that is in the tens place. And then finally, I have a 2 in the singles unit, and in this case, I can just end off with a lua, okay? So the answer is everything that I've written to the right. This right here, correlates to this part, okay? So this is in the 700 section, so this is fitu silau, okay? My next value is in the tens place, and this correlates to this part, and this is 2 tens, or lua sefulu. This is 20, okay? And the last unit or value is in the singles, and that is this, lua, okay? Awesome, so I'm going to give you some more random ones, and hopefully you get the same number that I do, okay? So, sorry, I'm going to erase some of these, and I will give you 820, no, let's do a different number than 20, 64, okay? So pause the video and come up with this number on your own. Okay, so if you did it, I hope you got valu, silau, okay? That is the 800. Then I go to my next place right here in the tens place. That'll be a ono sefulu, okay? Ono sefulu, and I'm running out of room. And then in my singles unit, I have a 4, and in my singles unit, I don't have to add anything on fancy, so I just write a fa. Whoops, I need to write fa right here, okay? So this is the answer for 864, valu silau, ono sefulu fa, okay? And if you got that, you're starting to really get the hang of this, or you've gotten the hang of this. I'm just going to give you one more number in the hundreds, and we will work on a little bit more just after this. So let's do 333. Let's do 3 3s. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is my hundreds place, and so this is a tolu, because that's the number in the hundreds place. And then I need to attach a silau to that because it's in the hundreds place. And then the next unit I have is in the tens place, and that is another 3 that's right there, so tolu. And I need to attach a sefulu to that because it's in the tens place. And then my last number or value is in the singles, so I just write another tolu right there. Okay? So tolu silau, tolu sefulu, tolu. Okay? Awesome. So if you can get hundreds, then you can get thousands and millions and billions and trillions. And I'm just going to go over the pronunciation of those with you. Maybe I'll do 1 in 1,000, and then we'll call it quits. We're starting to get to our 20-minute mark, and I don't want to make the numbers video too long. So This right here, this is 1,000. This is pronounced afe, afe. Million is pronounced miliona, miliona. Billion is pronounced piliona, piliona. And trillion is pronounced tiliona, tiliona. Okay, I'm just going to do one in the thousands, so let's do something other than one. Let's do 7,321, okay? So I just remembered that this 7 is in the thousands place, so I use this number now. So my 7, so I have a fitu, if you remember the Samoan number for 7 is fitu, and then this is fitu afe, okay, fitu afe. So that takes care of my first value, or in the first 1,000 value. Then my next value will be in the hundreds place, and this is a 3, so I write down the number 3, so this is tolu, and the number that I attach to that is a silau, because it's in my hundreds place, so this is tolu silau right here. And then the next number I have is a 2, and that is in the tens place, and so this is, if you remember the number for 2, this is lua, lua, and it's in the tens place, so you add a safulu, and sorry that's cut off, and then my last number is a 1, so I just ended off with a tasi. Okay, awesome. So hopefully you're getting the hang of this. If not, I encourage you to go back and rewatch some of the video. And until next time, guys, tofa soifua.